Welcome to This Explainer. We often think of the animal kingdom as this beautiful, harmonious place, but today we're stepping into a completely different reality. We are counting down nature's top 10 most brutal parents. We're diving headfirst into a dark, unforgiving world where the primal instinct to keep a bloodline alive absolutely shatters any human concept of love or compassion. Just imagine for a second being born only to be devoured by your own brother before you even take your very first breath. Or picture being violently pushed out of your nest by a sibling plummeting to the ground while your parents just sit there and watch, doing absolutely nothing. It sounds completely horrifying to us, right? But behind these incredibly visceral behaviors lies one simple, uncompromising goal. Let's look at the unbelievable evolutionary strategies that are absolutely going to change how you view animal families.
Chapter 1. The Illusion of Innocence.
Coming in at number 10, the koala. Now, I know what you're thinking. They look incredibly adorable, right? But they actually hide a pretty unsavory secret. You see, young koalas literally cannot digest toxic eucalyptus leaves on their own. They desperately need a specific type of bacteria to do it. So, how on earth do they get it? Well, the mother produces this substance called pap. It's basically a partially digested form of food that the baby must consume directly from her. Yeah, it's exactly as unpleasant as it sounds. But this is a perfect example of how, in the wild, survival always comes before comfort. Without this rather harsh dietary initiation, the baby would literally starve.
Chapter 2. The Ruthless Elements.
Minus 50 degrees Celsius. In the absolute frozen wasteland of Antarctica, after laying a single egg, the mother just leaves. The number 9 emperor penguin father is left completely alone, balancing that fragile egg on his feet for nearly 2 entire months. He doesn't eat a single thing. He battles extreme starvation and howling, freezing winds just to keep that one egg alive. In fact, many fathers literally die before they ever get to see their chicks hatch. It's an agonizing, stark isolation that proves nature's cruelty often falls right out of the sky.
The ice claims plenty of others too. Coming in at number 7 is the polar bear. The Arctic is, quite frankly, entirely unforgiving. Food is incredibly scarce, temperatures are absolutely deadly, and the first-year mortality rate for cubs is just devastatingly high. Mothers are forced to travel hundreds of miles across barren, shifting ice, desperately searching for food while trying to shield their young from freezing to death. In a landscape that offers 0 second chances, only the absolute toughest families make it out alive.
Now, for our number 5, the crocodile. The swamp demands a massive sacrifice. You'd think having a giant, terrifying reptile for a mom would keep you safe, right? Well, despite a mother's fierce protection, the odds are deeply, deeply stacked against her young. A female might lay dozens of eggs, but only a tiny fraction actually survive. The vast majority are picked off by birds, fish, snakes, or just lost to environmental hazards before they even have a fighting chance.
Chapter 3. Deception and Danger.
Sometimes, the absolute most brutal parents don't use brute force at all. They use cold, calculated deception. Enter our number 6, the common cuckoo. This bird pulls off the ultimate heartless scam. The cuckoo secretly lays its egg in a completely different bird's nest, and when that cuckoo chick hatches, it ruthlessly shoves the host bird's actual eggs or even its newborn chicks right over the edge to their deaths. The cuckoo parent entirely avoids all the hard work of raising a kid, while the poor, unsuspecting foster parent spends months literally exhausting itself feeding this monstrous little stranger that just murdered its own offspring. It is brutal.
Chapter 4. Born into Battle.
For our number 4, the spotted hyena, there is simply no such thing as a childhood. These cubs are born fully equipped and completely ready for battle. Within just mere hours of birth, siblings engage in intense, deadly fights. The victor of this immediate, incredibly violent conflict claims absolute dominance. That means they get the best access to food, and they get the mother's attention. Out there in the wild, the competition literally starts the exact second you draw breath.
We actually see this relentless cutthroat competition in the skies as well, specifically with our number 8, the black eagle, and our number 2, the bald eagle. Up in these soaring nests, the weaker sibling is mercilessly bullied.
As the stronger chick establishes its dominance, the smaller one is constantly pecked at, physically overpowered, and actively denied food. And ultimately, it's just left to starve. Now, what's truly chilling about this whole dynamic is that the parents just sit there and watch it happen. They rarely, if ever, intervene. By allowing this brutal sibling rivalry to run its course, they are mathematically ensuring that at least one exceptionally strong, dominant offspring reaches adulthood. which is absolutely crucial when resources are scarce.
The clinical, calculating cruelty of the savanna brings us to our number 3, the lion. When a new male takes over a pride, his very first act is often to systematically kill the existing cubs. Now for the cubs and the mothers, this is pure heartbreaking devastation, but for the invading male lion, it is a brilliant, albeit intensely dark evolutionary strategy. You see, eliminating those cubs brings the females back into heat, which allows him to pass on his own genes that much faster. It's a really harsh, bloody reminder of exactly how the kings of the savanna maintain their thrones.
Chapter 5. The Womb of Death. Taking the number 1 spot is the sand tiger shark. Prepare yourselves, because this involves a biological mechanism called intrauterine cannibalism. Basically, this is a process where the absolute largest embryo actively hunts and eats its smaller siblings while they are all still inside the mother's womb. Before they even see a single ray of sunlight, these animals are already functioning as apex predators, literally turning their own nursery into a slaughterhouse.
The grim efficiency of this unfolds entirely in the dark. First, that largest embryo develops its hunting instincts way ahead of the others. Then, it systematically hunts down and consumes its smaller, weaker siblings. So by the time birth finally arrives, a massive, battle-tested predator emerges into the ocean. It is pure, unadulterated horror, sure, but it works flawlessly. It creates superior, gigantic survivors before they even hit the water.
Chapter 6. Efficient, never cruel. Nature isn't cruel. Nature is efficient. Every single horrifying behavior we've analyzed in today's explainer, from infanticide and starvation to the calculated deception of the cuckoo and the nightmarish womb of the shark, evolved for one absolute unyielding reason: to keep the species alive. Emotion simply does not dictate the wild. Results do. So when survival is the absolute only goal, can we really judge the ruthless methods of the wild using our own human morals? The efficiency of nature is terrifying, yeah, but it's also undeniably magnificent. Which of these incredibly dark evolutionary strategies shocked you the most? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into nature's shadows. I hope this explainer gave you a completely new perspective on the wild. Stay curious,